Trump's paramilitary bullies have basically turned Republicans into either bullies themselves, or as brought out the bully base, or they've left the rest of the Republican Party just scared out of their minds, shall we say. I use a somewhat less appropriate word, but I was quoting Meghan McCain, actually. This was back about 11, 12 years ago. Meghan McCain was talking about this war that seemed to be emerging inside the Republican Party. And, I think that she basically nailed it. She said, I think we're seeing a war brewing in the Republican Party, but it is not between us and the Democrats. Most of the old school Republicans are scared, and then she used that word, shall we say, crapless, of that future. That was Meghan McCain in 2009. And now you've got Liz Cheney saying that she knew that there were Republicans who wanted to vote to impeach Donald Trump during the last impeachment hearing, where she voted to impeach Donald Trump. And those Republicans wanted to vote to impeach Donald Trump, but, and I quote Liz Cheney, they were afraid for their own security and afraid for their lives. For their lives. I mean, you go back to January 6th, you had these traitors storming the U.S. Capitol, bringing a gallows to hang the Vice President of the United States, and another group of them searching the Capitol building, apparently with the help of a sitting member of Congress telling them where the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was so that they could, quote, put a bullet in her forehead, end quote. So I think Liz Cheney is probably right when she says that her colleagues are scared for their lives. You have to wonder about Congressman Clyde, right? The guy from Georgia who read this statement. And I would sure like to know who wrote that statement that he read. Who read this statement a couple days ago on, before Congress. It's been played ad infinitum on MSNBC. I'm assuming it's popping up on CNN and other news sources as well, where he said, if you didn't know otherwise, watching the protesters walk through the between the stanchions, through the statuary hall on their way to the Capitol, you would have thought it was just another tourist day, right? Just another normal tour in the Capitol building, right? Yeah, where 140 cops end up in the hospital, where 5 people are dead. Ultimately, 7 people are dead, 3 of them police officers. Just another day, just average stuff. And you see this, and you have to wonder, what's going on with the Republican Party? Well, what's going on is we have this movement toward fascism, and fascism is basically driven by bullies. These people are authoritarians. Authoritarians, is the psychology word for bullies, right? Or a fancy word for it. Jeff Duncan, he's the Republican lieutenant governor for the state of Georgia, the number 2 guy under Brian Kemp, the governor. He was on MSNBC this morning on Morning Joe, and he said he's not going to seek re-election. And they asked him why, and he said, and I quote, this is in today's rant, by the way, over at HartmannReport.com. If you want to get any of these original quotes or links to the articles, I've got them all in there. No ads, no cost. Anyhow, he says, look, I got 3 kids. 3 boys, 19, 15, 10. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. These have been some very interesting times for us. I'm proud to have them on my team. They've been very supportive. But, he's talking about his family. But when you receive death threats from hundreds of Republicans from around the country, that's a problem when you're only sitting there telling the truth. End of quote. This is what's going on. I mean, for over 100 years, authoritarians have tried to destroy democracy. The largest and most well-known of the authoritarian anti-democracy groups in America was called the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan. Today, they go by a half a dozen or a dozen different names. but they're basically the Klan. These are the paramilitary shock troops now of the 21st century. The Klan was the 20th century and the late 19th century. Back in the 1970s and throughout the 1980s, for example, and then, you know, these people operate by intimidations and threats. Back in the late 70s, the early 80s, the most popular talk show host in America was a guy named Alan Berg. They made a movie about him called Talk Radio. It's been 10, 15 years. And on June 8th, and he was a progressive. He was the #1 talk show host in America. He was doing his show out of a station in Denver that blew a signal into 29 states. And on June 18th, 1984, a couple of skinheads walked up to him in the parking lot of his radio station and shot him to death. That was June 18th of 84. October 14th of 84, June, July, August, September, October, 5 months later, a guy named Rush Limbaugh debuts with a right-wing talk show that soon replaces Alan Berg regionally and then, you know, by 87 nationally, and now, you know, has become, until his recent death, the nation's most outspoken bully. I mean, bullying is what these people are all about. You've got the forced pregnancy bullies who stand outside, you know, family planning clinics and yell and scream at women that they think might be getting abortions or even birth control. As we speak, the Republican Party is trying to enlist 10,000 so-called poll watchers, thugs who will intimidate suspicious people who want to vote. And you and I both know what suspicious people means to Republicans. If you've ever tried to engage a right-winger on in any kind of social media, you know what how quickly it devolves into bullying and name-calling. You've got these right-wing paramilitary groups who are wearing Army-style camouflage and carrying around giant weapons, partly to make up for their own insecurities, but also to enhance their ability to bully people. I mean, they've tried mass murder as a bullying technique. Tim McVeigh in Oklahoma City. When this white supremacist kid drives up to Wisconsin, his mother drives him up to Wisconsin, and he murders 2 Black Lives Matter protesters. Republican bullies across the country raised literally millions of dollars for him. School boards are facing these bullies, which we talked about in the previous hour, all across the country. When Barack Obama decided to adopt Mitt Romney's plan for Massachusetts health care, Romney Care, and call it the Affordable Care Act, you had these right-wing bullies showing up at town hall meetings that members of Congress are just trying to give people information. Oh, no, we're going to shout you down. Anthony Fauci now has to have a private security detail for his children because of death threats. Right-wing bullies in Michigan put together a plan to kidnap the Democratic governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and haul her off for a phony trial and execution on television. Donald Trump said that he would pay the legal fees of any bullies in his audience who injured people who were protesting against him. His wife wore a shirt to go down to look at the children he put in cages that said, "I really don't care, do you?" Bullies? Mitch McConnell bullied Barack Obama, refused for a whole year to even consider Merrick Garland. Defeating bullies is more art than science. And yes, there's the kick them in the nuts school. The way that you defeat a bully is by beating them, crushing them,